Naruto was on his back, panting heavily. Sasuke was in the same position, with Sakura on her knees a few feet away. Kakashi stood to the side, flipping through his book. He just spent the last 4 hours avoiding their attacks. The battle concluded with Kakashi without a single scratch, and the Genin with 0 energy left. The Jonin stayed true to his promise with Naruto. It had been 2 weeks since then, and the Genin were receiving the proper training. In that short time, Naruto was feeling results. His body was stronger, faster, could last longer in a fight, and he could see that the others were feeling the effects as well. Sakura's improvement had been agonizingly slow, but promising if she kept it up, but from the looks of it, she might not. Sasuke was advancing at a pace equal to his own. They'd both started training with ninjutsu, Sasuke with fire, Naruto with wind. Neither had learned any new techniques, but their basic understanding of their respective elements had increased drastically, meaning that it would be easier to learn harder jutsu down the line. Kakashi's style of training was unique among the other Jonin instructors. Shikamaru had told the blonde Asuma preferred mastery over their clan techniques above anything, while Kurenai focused on general ability and overcoming each Genin's personal weakness, according to Hinata. Kakashi, however, was hyper-focused on individual chakra training and pushing his students to the absolute physical limit. That's why they were on the ground, exhausted. Naruto forced himself to move, pushing himself up to a sitting position. Kakashi closed his book. "Can you all move?" the Jonin asked. None of the Genin said anything. "Good. That means it's time to get today's real training started." "You're serious?" Sasuke muttered. "Absolutely," Kakashi responded with an eye smile. "The best way to increase your chakra reserves is to tire out your body first. Using chakra in this exhausted state also has the added benefit of improving both it and your body's density. Denser chakra means you can use less of it to perform techniques, and a denser body makes your body more durable." Naruto groaned. In his head it made sense, though he didn't like it. But he didn't see why he needed to undergo this exercise. He already had twice the amount of chakra an average Chunin had, and by increasing its density, it would make it harder for him to use elemental ninjutsu. He just had to assume Kakashi would take that into account when Naruto started training with ninjutsu again. So, without complaint, Naruto shakily rose to his feet, channeling chakra through his body. A faint blue aura appeared around him. "Looks like you have the right idea, Naruto," Kakashi praised. "I want each of you to coat yourselves with chakra and keep it up until you run out." "But won't that kill us?" Sakura asked. They'd learned in the academy that using all your chakra was life-threatening. "Yes, but not if you do it correctly, and so long as I'm around. As you know, all humans have chakra, but only shinobi know how to use it. The older you get, the more your chakra escapes from your body passively, the same way your cells degrade. But one way to prevent this is by pushing yourself beyond your chakra limit. The third Hokage went through similar training. That's why he's able to act as a ninja even in his old age. Now, since you're still kids, this training is far more dangerous. But I'll be here, giving each of you some of my chakra. My chakra will keep your body alive while you use up your energy. I started this training as soon as I left the academy, and look at me now." "Please," Sasuke scoffed, rising to his feet. "Naruto's already close to your level in terms of the amount of chakra he has." Naruto blinked in surprise. He didn't know Sasuke was aware of how much chakra he had. Then again, it wasn't hard to figure out when the blonde could train with his chakra much longer than either of his teammates. Sasuke started forcing chakra through his body. Sakura looked at the two boys, trying to stand up, but she was too exhausted. Sasuke sighed internally, telling her to rest for a moment. She had the least chakra out of the Genin, so there wasn't much harm if she started later than the others. An hour later, Sakura and Sasuke had used up every last drop of their chakra. As Kakashi was sharing his chakra to keep them alive, Naruto was still going strong. "Naruto, I want you to increase the amount of chakra you're releasing. Try using 5 times as much, Kakashi ordered. Naruto forcefully nodded, the blue shroud covering him lighting up with intensity. Just within a few seconds, he'd already used up half of his remaining chakra. Shortly after, he was nearing his limit. He pushed himself as hard as possible, but his legs were giving out. His vision was blurry, and he felt like passing out. Kakashi was at his side, giving him some of his own chakra. The blonde stopped releasing chakra, collapsing to the ground. He looked up at his sensei with weak eyes. Kakashi realized Naruto had gone a little too far. He was likely going to pass out, and stay unconscious for a few hours, if not an entire day. He went too far, didn't he? Sasuke asked, receiving a nod. Classic Naruto, he scoffed. Agreed, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Training is done for today. Rest your bodies and return tomorrow so I can see how much your chakra has increased. I'm going to take Naruto to the hospital so they can take care of him while he's out of energy. Without another word, Kakashi vanished, carrying Naruto as he quickly faded to black. Naruto's eyes jerked open, seeing a blank concrete wall above him. His eyes darted around, seeing similar walls and hallways. The only thing that broke the view was an assortment of pipes running along the walls. He looked down, seeing that the ground was covered in water up to his ankles. This isn't the hospital, is it? The blonde asked himself, his voice echoing through the strange place. I've only been there once, but I'm positive it doesn't look like this. A sudden chill crawled down his spine, making him freeze. The water around him vibrated, sending ripples in every direction. He felt a sudden rush of wind fly past him, making him whip around. What used to be an endless hallway was replaced with a giant metal cage. What is this? Naruto whispered to himself, not liking the potential answers. The cage was held shut with a single paper tag, easily as big as Naruto himself. On it, the word seal was written. Naruto felt another rush of wind, making him turn again. The mess of hallways had vanished, replaced by a blank wall. He was trapped. He slowly looked back at the cage, the water at his feet rippling. Naruto gulped, taking one shaky step forward. Is someone in there? He asked, gently putting his hand against one of the iron bars. He felt his body shake as a low rumble was heard within the cage. He lifted his hand to create a small fire so he could see through the darkness inside, but he felt no chakra build up in his hand, reminding him that he used it all up in training. But I don't feel exhausted, he muttered. I don't feel anything, he realized. The water at his feet, the iron bars, even his clothes. He felt nothing. He touched his face with his hand, sighing in relief when he felt his warm skin and whiskers. There was one other thing he could feel, the steady but heavy breathing in the cage. The sound brought his fear back, but he had no choice but to call out again. If you're in there, show yourself! A dark chuckle rang through his ears. Foolish little brat. The deep voice froze him in place, the origin slowly dawning on Naruto. He had to get away, but his body refused to listen to his mind. I'm surprised you're here. I wasn't expecting you until you were a little bit older. Who are you? Naruto asked, his voice cracking. Do I need to spell it out? You know, there's a reason why you live in a forest. Naruto's mind clicked, and a cry of pure fear echoed through the concrete chambers. From within the cage, Naruto saw the faint orange glow of the nine-tailed fox's fur, before his vision went blank once again. Naruto jerked upright on the hospital bed, gasping for breath. Sasuke and Sakura, who were both in the room, looked up in surprise. Sakura placed her hand on his shoulder, making him pull back in fear. Sakura jumping away for the same reason. He glanced around frantically, clutching his heart. Snap out of it, idiot, Sasuke said, trying to calm down the boy. His voice managed to snap Naruto out of his stupor. His breathing slowed, and his trembling stopped. "How long have I been out?" he asked. "Almost a day," Sasuke answered. "Kakashi-sensei will be here later, and he said you should skip training to let your chakra refill." Naruto nodded. Due to his large chakra pool, it was going to take some time for it to return to full. "Are you sure you're alright?" the Uchiha asked. "Yeah," Naruto replied hesitantly. "It was just a nightmare." "In that case, I'm going to head out," Sasuke huffed, opening the door to leave. Sakura ran to catch up, but Naruto stopped her by saying, "Thanks for watching over me, Sakura. Let Sasuke know too." Sakura scoffed. "We're only here because Kakashi-sensei told us to. I don't need your thanks," she said before slamming the door behind her. Naruto sighed. Sakura still disliked him, and the fact that he and Sasuke always appeared to be equals only made her distaste for him grow. For whatever reason, she couldn't stand the fact that they viewed each other as rivals. Naruto still found it hard to believe that Sasuke liked him at all. Granted, that encounter with Ino's mother seemed to be an isolated incident, so he probably cared less than the blonde expected. His musing was interrupted by a nurse entering the room. His shinobi senses started to act up. His hair stood on end and his muscles tensed. He had every right to be worried. The last time he'd been to the hospital, he'd almost got killed by a doctor who held a grudge against the fox inside him. The only reason he'd survived was because he'd gone with Iruka, and the teacher dealt with the man before handing him over to the Hokage. The nurse was carrying a vial and needle, filled with a clear liquid. It could be anything, but Naruto believed the worst. He was right. The nurse's face was easy to read. It was one of rage. Luckily, she wasn't fast, giving Naruto enough time to grab his clothes off the nightstand, open the window and jump out. He bolted down the street, throwing his clothes on as he went. He looked behind him, seeing the rage in the woman's eyes grow as she stared. He forced his eyes shut, almost running into a civilian. He made it down a few streets, but his stamina was still incredibly low from training, making him collapse against a wall. His knees buckled, but he managed to stay upright. His eyes landed on a familiar face. Hinata, walking down the street, a Hyuga bodyguard at her side. Her father was insistent on having one follow her when she wasn't training, or on missions. He'd learned that the hard way months ago. It made it difficult for him to talk with her. Luckily, Hinata noticed him out of the corner of her eye. The weakened state he was in made her worried. She ducked inside a shop, telling her guard to stay outside. Once she disappeared from view, she used the body flicker jutsu to appear beside Naruto. "Aren't you gonna get in trouble for this?" he whispered as Hinata put his arm around her neck, her face turning bright red. "Don't worry about that. You need help right now. That's what's important. But won't your bodyguard see us with his Byakugan?" "Not if I do this," Hinata replied, performing the transformation jutsu. The small cloud of smoke dispersed to reveal Sasuke. Naruto smiled. "Good thinking. But you need to work on your facial expressions." "There's no way Sasuke would ever blush," Naruto chuckled. Hinata did the best she could to mimic Sasuke's brooding frown and glare as she carried Naruto out of the streets. Once they made it to the edge of Naruto's forest haven, the blonde was able to move on his own, and Hinata was able to transform back to normal. "Thanks for helping me, Hinata," Naruto smiled. No problem," Hinata stuttered. "Are you sure you'll be okay now?" "Yeah, I'll be fine," Naruto chuckled. "You should get back to your escort before they start suspecting something." The blonde turned to leave, but stopped when he heard Hinata try to say something. He looked back, Hinata twiddling her thumbs with nervousness. "Something wrong?" he asked. "Oh, it's nothing really. Just don't push yourself too hard." Naruto relaxed. "Don't worry, I've got the day off, so I'll take it easy." He waved as he limped into the forest. "I'll see you around, Hinata." The Hyuga gave a hesitant wave back as Naruto disappeared into the trees. Hinata waited several moments before turning to leave. Naruto watched her from within the trees, his smile devolving into a frown. He wished the two could have talked more, but he wasn't about to get her in trouble for talking to someone most adults would see as a demon. He made his way back to the waterfall, noticing a set of tracks headed in the same direction. They belonged to someone small, and most likely younger than himself. They were shinobi sandal prints, so perhaps an academy student. No, Naruto mused aloud. There's no way an academy student would be out here by themselves. Once he reached his cave, he saw that the few things he owned had been moved around, as if this mysterious person was looking for something. Luckily, he didn't have to wait long to find out who that person was, as an obnoxious battle cry came from behind him. Naruto sidestepped, dodging the little boy with his dulled kunai. The boy tripped over his long blue scarf, staining his bright yellow shirt with dirt. "How'd you know I was behind you?" the boy squeaked, pushing himself up. "You were screaming at the top of your lungs. How could I not know? Now, who are you and why are you rummaging through my stuff?" "I'm Konohamaru Sarutobi, the third Hokage's grandson. I'm here because it's part of my training." "The old man's grandson?" Naruto muttered in surprise. "I've heard about you before, but what does this place have to do with your training?" "Ebisu-sensei told me there was a valuable scroll that someone stole, and my job is to get it back. So hand it over." "Scroll? I haven't stolen any scrolls," Naruto defended himself. "The only scroll I have is this one from the library," Naruto said, pulling the scroll from his pouch. Konohamaru snatched the scroll away, inspecting it. "This is the scroll Ebisu-sensei was talking about." "Why does your sensei want a library scroll?" "How should I know?" Konohamaru asked. "Okay then. Did he give you any other instructions?" "Only to look out for a dangerous demon," Konohamaru replied, innocently, making Naruto wince. "But if you're the one he's talking about, then my sensei must be pretty dumb." Naruto looked at the kid confused. "Why do you say that?" "You're just some guy. Hardly dangerous, or a demon." Naruto was left shocked for a few seconds before composing himself. "Well, it's a good thing you don't listen to everything adults say. That's the best way to get you in trouble." He looked down at Konohamaru. "So why are you being given an assignment? You haven't even started going to the academy." Konohamaru huffed. "I'm the third Hokage's grandson, so I get special treatment. But Ebisu-sensei isn't very good, and he won't let me do anything a real shinobi does." The boy pulled out his hair. "At this rate, I'll never become a Hokage." Naruto chuckled, sitting down at the edge of the lake. "There are no shortcuts to becoming Hokage, or even a good ninja for that matter. You're still a little kid, Konohamaru. You've got plenty of time to catch up to the old man." Konohamaru sulked. "I guess." Naruto smiled as the boy tossed a pebble through the waterfall. "Who am I kidding?" Naruto asked himself. "I've already got one shortcut of my own in the form of all 5 elements. And the fox too, I guess." He forced the nightmare from earlier out of his head, looking back to Konohamaru. "Kid, for now, aim to be the top of your class once you start academy classes. If you manage to be at the top, I'll consider teaching you a few things." Konohamaru's eyes lit up. "Really? You'll teach me? I owe your grandfather a lot. This will be my way of repaying him, but only if you're the top of your class when you graduate," Naruto replied sternly. "Yes, boss," Konohamaru declared, saluting. "Hold on, you never told me what your name was, boss." "Naruto Uzumaki," the blonde replied with a grin. "And drop the boss thing. How about Big Brother Naruto then?" Naruto sighed. "I guess that'll work. Now, since I've got the rest of the day off, I'll show you one trick. Sound good?" Konohamaru nodded violently, eyes sparkling. "Show me how you normally throw a kunai," Naruto instructed. Konohamaru faced a nearby tree, bringing his arm back before hurling his dull blade. It chipped the wood but fell to the ground harmlessly. Naruto sighed. The boy was like every beginner, thinking strength was all you needed to use a kunai. He told Konohamaru to watch him closely as he pulled out his own kunai. After choosing his target, he raised his arm slightly, letting the blade dangle between his fingers. In one motion, he moved his arm, and with a flick of his wrist, the kunai flew. It embedded itself deep into the tree. Konohamaru stared in amazement, running to grab his kunai and try Naruto's movements. The blonde smiled as the boy tried and failed repeatedly to copy his form. He had a feeling the Hokage's grandson was going to grow up to be a strong shinobi. If you like what you just heard, consider hitting the subscribe button and bell icon to get notified about new videos. If there's a part you've missed, then check out the entire playlist on screen. If you like this story, please share it with your fellow anime lovers. Any support helps a lot. That's all for now. This is Ninja Kai, disappearing in a golden flash.